Yeah. This is the calm before the storm, the voter intimidation, the hammer on Speaker Pelosi's husband's head, the suspicious mail in government offices. Don't forget the nail gun guy who shot a nail gun at the FBI office. Don't forget the guy who ran the barricades with his car at the Capitol. Don't forget the guy who died the um, after the insurrection. We have had so many, and don't forget the intimidation on the election workers, the threats of violence that continue, the disinformation that is further um, emboldened by people like Carrie Lake and others who just don't understand the harm they're doing in their quest for power and fame. And it is irresponsible, you know? That is what it is. It is irresponsible. It is, and what you want in a public official, what you want in an elected leader is responsibility. We hold our elected leaders accountable in many ways through impeachment, through prosecutions after they leave office. And over the last several years, we have seen that accountability is not reaching the highest rungs of power. And because it is not reaching the highest rungs of power, those who are leeching off of proximity to that shadow of sedition that hangs over our head, which is Donald Trump, they are further emboldened to perpetuate these lies because they have a very dangerous, militant, radicalized minority behind their backs. The radicalized minority behind my back right now is my puppy. I don't know if you can see him. He might come behind me, and I'm going to do my best to ignore him, but you know, sometimes you need a special guest appearance. Anyway, so this is the calm before the storm, and don't expect it to abate when Donald is indicted. And I want you to pay attention to those words carefully. Don't expect it to abate when Donald is indicted. It's not if Donald is indicted, it's when Donald is indicted. And you have to understand that they are not going to go with the same tactic of January 6th. It's not going to be like, thousands of duped people on the streets and then oath keepers and proud boys in their midst. It's more likely to be guerrilla style attacks by suicide guerrilla fighters like David DePape or DePapi or whatever. That's how it's going to be. You're not going to have another full scale insurrection because it's just not feasible. Even militia like Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, and all of them put together, and their, grandmother's bingo or bridge group, all of it put together, none of it could even stand a chance to the National Guard, let alone the United States military. But they can start disrupting our infrastructure. They can start damaging our institutions. They can start assassinating political leaders. And I shared an episode on my Twitter feed about that, about the risk we have of a civil war starting, but in a very different way, not with you know guns on both sides and a field, but in the way that we have seen guerrilla wars being fought by, say, the Taliban against oppressors, what they perceive to be oppressors, anybody from the Russians to the Americans to the democratically elected government of Afghanistan. So, what people need to not lose sight of here is that none of these militias have the license to go out and uh, parade the streets for security, like Elmer Stewart Rhodes testified in the defense, in his own defense, in his seditious conspiracy trial. You don't. It's not your responsibility, and there's nothing to show other than your own hubris and misunderstanding. And I'm speaking about Stewart here, Elmer, of the Constitution, to think that you have the power to just deputize yourself into becoming a security force and a militia. You clearly weren't paying attention when you were clerking for whoever you clerked for and being a Yale law graduate, or even if you were paying attention, your own grandiosity got in the way of the blatant truth that what you were doing was talking yourself into a seditious conspiracy. So, we have so many things culminating here, right? The obvious big white elephant in the room is the election, and it's I've made an information video about what you can do to stay safe. Make sure you vote, and I want you to pay attention to the voter intimidation tactics that are going on with the people of the ballot boxes. A ruling in the Arizona District Court, Federal District Court, has ruled that you have to remain 75 feet away from ballot boxes and imposed what you would call time, place, manner restrictions on exercise of free speech. You can look that up on Cornell's Legal Institute website or any other legal resource that you trust. It's called a time, place, manner restriction, and it's imposed on the exercise of free speech, freedom of expression, expressive rights, which gives government the authority to place reasonable restrictions on where, when, how somebody can protest or exercise their right to express. And so they pretty much neutralize the intimidation part of these people in their tactical gear and weapons by the ballot boxes. But you have to remain careful nonetheless. One critical part of the order is that you don't engage them, because their order it requires you to actually talk to them in order for them to talk back to you, and they can't engage you, and so don't engage them. That's my suggestion. As I have said before, take a buddy, take water, take drinking water, take your phone and have it charged. If you see something suspicious, report to authorities. Don't engage.